why health starts at the digestive tract. You've heard us say that a lot of times, that health starts at the digestive tract. We are going to talk today about why. What does the digestive tract do for different areas of the body?
Right. And to start out with, the big thing is the immune system.
Yes.
And various authors will tell you between 70 and 80% of our immune system resides in our gut. So, and look at what people are putting into their gut that kind of mess things up there. And when you mess things up there,
and they wonder why they get sick so often.
Right. You're kind of messing up your immune system, and therefore it's a downhill slide from there. So, yeah.
Because the probiotics are definitely what resides in the gut that actually helps the immune system. And you have a lot of different kinds, and you have a lot of different, probiotics are so important.
Right.
And there's so many things that disrupt those probiotics. Antibiotics for one. And, sometimes you have to take an antibiotic, but you always have to replace your probiotics when you do so. Also, sometimes you get antibiotics when you don't think you're getting antibiotics.
I was going to say,
that's the big thing.
One of the things is hidden antibiotics, and people don't realize this. A lot of your packaged processed food and geoengineered food, that kind of thing, they've got antibiotics in them. And so you're getting that residual antibiotic. And as a matter of fact, they've talked about this, a lot of the researchers, just you name it, from Harvard right on around, they've all talked about it, how it disrupts the microbiome. And there's trillions of cells, not just a few billion, but trillions of cells that make up this microbiome. That's a lot. It's sort of like the national debt, it's like numbers you can't imagine. Okay, they spend that kind of money. Well, there's that kind of numbers as far as the microbiome. And when you start talking about trillions of things and you start doing something that messes them up a little bit, we got a real problem.
You start getting dysbiosis,
right,
which means you don't have enough or you don't have the right kind, different ways of looking at it. It can cause all kinds of problems. You can affect things from autoimmune, just chronic illness, to inflammation, to everything. So that is one of the number one reasons that health starts at the digestive tract.
So what are some of the things that we're doing aside from the wonderful food intake that we're getting that are causing that to be negatively impacted?
Well, it's the food is the biggest thing because, what we feed ourselves, what we don't realize, most people don't realize this, that's what you're feeding your microbiome with. And if you feed your microbiome improperly, they don't function well, there goes your immune system.
And so is the chemicals. The chemicals that are in food and all the glyphosate or Roundup that's in everything definitely affects our microbiome. So people don't think about that everything all these chemicals aren't just bad because they're chemicals and toxins, they're bad for our good bacteria.
We talk about, a lot of people, that will talk about eating fermented foods. And there was a really kind of cool study came out of Europe. What did I tell you, last week or so? About the thing, she mentioned glyphosate, and that's why I kind of focused in on this, because it just kind of rung a bell. This study came out of, I think it was Germany, is where the most work was done. And what they found was that glyphosate, and it's everywhere. God knows they didn't find it in rainwater. We used to talk about acid rain. Well, that's past. We got glyphosate rain now. So seriously. And so we're finding this stuff everywhere. So how do you get rid of it? Well, what they found was really interesting. Kraut juice. The Germans did it. So it was sauerkraut juice. And believe it or not, so eating sauerkraut, for God's sakes. We need to, obviously, at this point, we need to be doing sauerkraut every day because...
But they actually put it in the soil in order for the soil to get rid of the glyphosate in the soil. So then the plants were better because it didn't have the glyphosate in it. So it was kind of interesting. It was an interesting study.
It was very
interesting. Was.
Well, the next thing that comes up really is a huge one, and that's nutrient absorption. Because if you mess up the gut, you don't absorb the nutrients. So I don't care what you eat, if you don't absorb the nutrients from it.
Right, and your cells can't function without the proper nutrients. So proper nutrients aren't just to make you feel better. They're actually necessary for life. So if you start having severe deficiencies, you're going to start having other health problems. So again, if the gut's not healthy and the gut can't absorb the nutrients, you're going to have a lot of problems.
Well, you might even be taking some other medications that stop it from absorbing.
Possibly.
That's a strong possibility. And for that reason, you need to figure out, okay, if I'm taking a medication that blocks my absorption, what can I do to get rid of that medication? I need to change something in my body because I'm not deficient in that medication that actually causes me to not absorb my nutrients. Can't be. there's something else going on.
There's a lot of medical research coming out about that too.
Yeah.
It's not just us saying it. It is actually medicine itself is starting to say, I think we have a problem.
Yeah.
We are using these drugs.
Wow.
Yeah, there are. Actually, some of the big studies have been at Mayo Clinic saying, we're using these medications that stop absorption of nutrients, and then we're having more health problems on top of it. So it is about getting healthier overall, and that's kind of what we do. We do prevention. We try to keep people from getting sick. And if you want to keep people from getting sick, you have to look at the digestive tract.
Yep.
So now we're going to move into the gut-brain connection.
Yes. A lot of people think, matter of fact, a lot of folks don't have that reality that the gut and the brain are connected. And they really are. They're connected in several different ways. One, through the vagus nerve, which comes from the brain down to the gut and the heart and everything else. There's a direct connection for it there. And the other way it's connected is majority of your neurochemistry, the things that make the brain work better, take serotonin, for instance, made in the gut. So if your gut's not functioning correctly, can't make the serotonin, can it? There you go. We got a problem. And GABA, which calms things down, so we get a lot of anxiety issues and so on. So there's a host of things that happen when that gut and that brain.
Yeah, people don't think about how important it is, and that's why we decided to do this show, is because we've had a lot of shows on the gut, but exactly explain why it makes such a difference to your health.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, that not having the right microbiome in there, does it disconnect the gut-brain activity?
It does, because it sends a bad signal to the vagus nerve. That's a direct connection, the vagus nerve to the brain. So the vagus nerve picks up this bad signal coming out of the gut that, hey, something's wrong down here. It may not be really, or you don't know. And so the brain gets all confused in it. And so we have a lot of miscommunication between the gut and the brain. And then we have the neurochemistry that's supposedly being made in the gut. It's not. Now we got a real problem. We got a double-edged sword.
So the brain doesn't know what signals to be sending?
No, the brain knows what it's reading. Brain is like your supercomputer. It's reading what's fed into it.
Sure.
Okay, garbage in, garbage out. Remember that old so on. And when that happens, if the gut is sending a garbage signal to the brain gets confused and starts it starts going crazy. And that's what we see is kind of a panic mode in the brain because it starts to dysfunction. And they've literally mapped this on some of the brain scans where the brain just kind of starts going haywire. Yeah. Literally.
Yeah, it makes a big difference.
Yeah, it really does.
We don't need the brain confused.
No, we don't need that.
We
There's
don't.
enough confusion
There's enough confusion out there.
So just keep the gut healthy.
That's right. That's right. Now, the next thing it's a biggie, and this is huge, is chronic inflammation in various diseases. And it's not just, swollen joints or something like that. This is really and truly inflammation that can cause, they've linked it to just about every kind of disease known that we have.
Yeah, inflammation is probably the cause of all disease, but the gut is the cause of a lot of the inflammation. Mm-hmm. So again, you got to get the inflammation under control because inflammation really does start a cascade of problems. And they know that one of the big areas it starts is the gut. Mm-hmm. And if you have what they call leaky gut,
which is putting toxic stuff into the bloodstream that shouldn't be there.
That shouldn't be there because the gut itself doesn't have a good enough barrier.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah.
So if inflammation is the cause of disease and the gut is the cause of inflammation,
is the gut
the cause of disease?
It's where it starts.
That's where they're
saying a lot of it starts there.
Yeah, they're coming back to that.
And that's why what you eat is so important because what affects the gut more than anything other than the food you put in it. Mm-hmm. If you put all the packaged processed food that's full of chemicals and full of things in it, what are you doing to your gut?
You're destroying it.
Exactly.
Yeah, not good.
And then you're destroying your health. So it is all linked. And the body is a whole. That's what we tell people that all the time. When you have a problem, it's like you have to look at everything because they all affect each other. It isn't just you can't say, okay, I have a thyroid problem, I have to look at just the thyroid. You don't. You have to look at the whole body because they're all what is making that thyroid problem or what's making that problem. So you have to look at overall health, and that is looking at the whole picture.
Right.
Yeah.
There's a question here. We'll take this right now because this is kind of what we were talking about before the first break.
Okay.
For acid reflux, is there something over the counter such as vitamins to help? Now I take an acid reducer, and that's what we were talking about. The acid reducer that I take blocks my body from absorbing iron. Mm-hmm. So,
not just iron.
But in my case, it was iron, which causes me to be a little iron deficient.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So you guys supplemented my multivitamin with iron.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But in this case, what is there
We're
something
talking about something, though, that actually helps the reflux. And for one, changing your diet. The biggest one is change what you eat.
Well, obviously, that's the biggie, because that's what caused the problem.
Also, we use something totally different. We use digestive enzymes. We actually look at, let's help you digest your food better. In majority of the cases, and we're not saying all, we're saying majority, there are those people that may need that medication, but it is not near as many people that take it, put it that way. But if you have just reflux, okay, you're eating the wrong food, you get reflux. Change your diet and take digestive enzymes. As you age, you make less digestive enzymes. Stress makes you make less digestive enzymes. So we use digestive enzymes, and we have different kinds. We have ones that are vegetarian, we have ones that aren't vegetarian, we have ones that have stomach acid, ones that don't have stomach acid. If somebody is prone to ulcers, you don't want the one with acid. If you are not prone to ulcers and you just have reflux, then you want the one with acid. In a lot of cases, stomach acid actually helps reflux because it helps you digest your food better, and it does not sit in the stomach and rot. The fermentation of the food in your stomach, a lot of times from not digesting, is what produces more acid.
And one of the key factors behind it, taking that just a little bit further down the road, what causes the stomach to empty the contents into the intestines for the rest of the absorption? Acid. There's a little trigger, and when that acid builds up enough, that what they call the pyloric sphincter at the bottom of the stomach opens and says, okay, get out of here, and the food goes into the digestive tract. And if you don't have enough acid, it just kind of sits there. So and then it kind of feeds the problem, because acid is going to kind of keep dropping in a little bit at a time. And it starts, if you get too much food in there and it's not emptying, then it starts coming back up into the esophagus. And your stomach can take acid that's ungodly, okay? It doesn't have a problem with it. That esophagus, no way. It is not designed for that kind of stuff.
Right.
So it causes a lot of problems.
I would think that would be a little bit better designed.
We only got to talk to the guy.
Well, it wasn't supposed to reflux back up.
That part.
Yeah.
It wasn't designed for that.
Yeah, it wasn't designed for that.
So you could have, you could be getting, you could be burping it up and having reflux because there's not enough acid.
Right.
And so you're saying you could need more acid, which is why you have some of these digestive enzymes that
And we see a lot of people who need more acid.
Well,
we do. We have a lot of people that can't believe that when we add a digestive enzyme that has betaine hydrochloride, that it helps their reflux. They're like, oh my gosh, this helps better than anything I've ever done. But yet they not, think, but it's acid. And it's like, well, yeah, but it's the right type of acid, and it's actually the type of acid that is supposed to be used to break down your food.
Yeah. So I don't take it. I could eat nothing.
Yeah.
And if I don't take it, I feel within.
Well, there's a rebound effect that they've actually done a lot of studies on that shows that if you take acid reducers, even if you've never had reflux in your life, and you stop them, you will get reflux, because your body is not used to digesting properly. So there is a rebound.
You have to wean yourself off of it?
You have to wean off.
Now, we never tell people to get off of it. We never take people off of medications. We always say work with your doctor. But there is a lot of institutions out there and a lot of big hospitals that are saying you really do want to work with your doctor to come off of it, because you don't want it long term. 6 to 8 weeks is one thing, but actually long-term use is another.
20 years is too much.
20 years is too much.
So we're going to move into hormonal regulation, because this is also a big part of the gut.
Yeah, things like insulin, for instance, ghrelin and leptin. And the ghrelin and leptin are more about you being satisfied and about how you eat. If you eat too much, do you have any control over it, and so on. So that's a big step for diabetes and obesity and so on.
And weight, because if you don't ever feel like you're full, if the gut's not doing its job and telling you that you're full, you're going to keep eating. And so all that is regulated through the gut as well.
Yeah. And another biggie that we see constantly is the gut and skin conditions. People can't believe it. Like, oh, I've got this eczema or whatever, and it can't possibly be tied to what I've been eating. Oh, yeah, it can. It sure can.
There's been a lot of studies that show where they put people on different diets and show that there's a great improvement, usually in skin conditions, if the gut is healthier.
Right.
So again, gut health does keep your skin actually healthier as well.
How about detoxification?
Well, that's I think it's one of the biggest, really, truly.
Yeah, big things.
It's huge. Because people ask us all the time, they come in and say, oh, you got a detox, you're detoxing 24/7, 366 days a year. It's all the time, okay? counting leap year and everything. So it's huge. And people want to take something to detox for like a week. Well, it's not going to cut it. We're going to be detoxing constantly. And your gut is a big part of this detoxification.
The liver, everyone knows the liver is the organ that really helps detoxification the most. But what gets rid of those toxins once they're actually gathered? And that is the gut. The gut and your good bacteria actually transport and get rid of the toxins.
Yeah.
So if you just detoxify the liver and you don't get rid of it, you reabsorb it.
Yeah.
So it's a never-ending circle. So if you have an unhealthy gut, you're not going to get rid of toxins properly.
Yeah.
Also, a big piece of the equation. Is there such thing as a nervous stomach, and how do you control it?
You actually, when people say they have a nervous stomach, it's normally when we do lab work, we see their cortisol is high. And high cortisol does make you nervous, no doubt. And it also makes your stomach burn. Just like kind of taking steroids, it'll actually burn the stomach and make all kind of stomach issues.
Well, it is a steroid.
Exactly, it is. It's your own body's steroid.
Yeah.
And we even see people that say they get up every single day and throw up as soon as they get up. Well, that's usually high cortisol in the morning. So what we use to control it is cortisol soothe, if that's the problem. We do suggest checking it first and making sure that's what's causing your problem. But cortisol soothe works really good for stomach when it's from high cortisol.